Every year, I like to make a video talking about my wish list for The Sims 4, kind of just going through all of the bug fixes I want to see, the stuff that I'd like to come in base game updates, and also all of the packs that I'd like them to make. I think it's kind of fun to revisit this every year, and if I'm being honest, I just went back and rewatched the video that I made last year, and not a single thing that I talked about actually made it into the game. So obviously all of that stuff that I said last year still stands, and we'll talk about a few of those things, but I have a bunch of other ideas that I'd like to just throw out there today as well. Couple quick disclaimers about this. Number one, there is a very long turnaround with Sims packs. So all of the stuff that we're gonna get this year in packs has been planned for a long time already, and a lot of it is probably already actively being developed. And the reason I mention that is because they're not gonna turn around and make a new pack just because lilsimsie mentioned it on January 1st. This year has already been planned out. Like, nothing is really gonna change about the release schedule. They also don't listen to me like that. Like, they're not just gonna go make stuff because I said it's a good idea. Contrary to popular belief, I do not have that kind of power, and they also don't tell me anything. Last year, I did know about Growing Together already because I was asked to do the builds for it, so I kind of knew a lot about that pack, but I didn't know about any of the other packs that came out last year, and I also don't have literally any insight into the packs that are coming out this year. And this video isn't even like speculation. It is purely just the stuff that I selfishly would like to see added to the game. I've made a little PowerPoint presentation for us today, so welcome everyone to my 2024 Sims wish list. First of all, 2023 last year was actually a huge year for The Sims. I would argue that it was the biggest year by far for The Sims 4, which is kind of interesting considering how late in the development cycle it is. The Sims 4 first came out in 2014, so for them to be having their biggest year, like 10 years on, is kind of cool. Some would argue that's a bad thing because they want to have The Sims 5 already, but it's looking like this Project Renee stuff is like years and years away, so we're just gonna have to make do with what we've got, and what we've got is The Sims 4. Now, as far as updates go, we got an entire new life state added this year. Back in March, we got the infant update. They've been working a lot to add more representation in CAS in the game. We got that medical wearable update that had things like the hearing aids in it. We also got top surgery scars and stretch marks. Those might seem like small things at first glance, but that kind of stuff actually means a lot to people, and it's kind of a big deal that we got it added. As far as build mode goes, we got ceiling paint finally, which is something that I have been desperately wanting forever. And then with packs, we had our first stuff pack in literal years. They did a fan vote again for a couple of kits. We got 3 expansion packs, and they were all like the most requested things by the Sims community. We got Growing Together, that was kind of like a Generations style pack. I have been making videos about concepts for a Generations pack in The Sims 4 for ages. Then we got horses, and I was fully convinced we would never get horses in The Sims 4, so that was a huge shock. And we got the ability to build custom apartments in the new For Rent pack. So in 2023, they kind of just like threw everything that we've been asking for years at us. That was all stuff that was like the top of the community wish list forever, and we actually got it added to the game. So coming off of that, it sets the bar kind of high for 2024 and all of the releases that we can expect in the next year. So first, let's talk about what we actually know is coming to the game. I just mentioned those fan voted kits, and we already have confirmed 2 new kits coming in early 2024, whatever that's gonna mean. These are going to be the Goth Fashion and Medieval Castle kits. They did a vote a few months ago where they had us pick between 2 styles for both a build kit and a cast kit. These were the 2 options for Create a Sim, and this Goth Fashion one won out. This is obviously only concept art, so we haven't seen the full pack or what it's actually going to entail, but it's going to look something like this. And then we also voted for a build mode kit, and the options were between a medieval castle style and this like futuristic style, and the castle is what won. I'm definitely more excited about the build mode stuff, but this is kind of hard for me to fathom in The Sims 4, especially as a kit. The problem with kits is that they're so small and we don't really get that many assets, and when you're trying to build something like a castle, you need a lot of stuff to achieve it properly. Just in this image, I'm looking at like 6 different styles of window, a different door. I'd like to see some new frieze freezes, some new trims. I feel like this stuff, the detailing at the top, could maybe become a freeze to go at the top of a wall, but I just worry that with the kit, we won't get enough variation in window and door styles to actually achieve a full castle look. I have that problem with the Courtyard Oasis kit. It has like a lot of really nice stuff, but there's just not enough windows for me to do a full giant build. I wish I had a couple more variants that match, because nothing else in the game really matches that style, and the same thing could very easily happen with the castles, because like nothing else in the game matches a castle. So I'm just kind of nervous that it's not going to be what I'm dreaming of, but I do like the idea of a medieval castle kit. We don't really know when it's going to come out, we just know it's going to come out sort of soon, and obviously as soon as we know, I'll tell you. I think that in general, this fan voted idea is a really cool concept. We've had a couple of fan voted packs in the past. Both Nifty Knitting and the Laundry Day stuff packs were completely fan voted, and over the course of like many surveys, they had us voting for style and content types and concept art. We voted on all kinds of stuff. This one was a little bit simpler because it was just like 2 options to pick from, but I think that's still fun. And then as far as like other kit ideas, I'll be the first to say I don't really want to see a ton of kits added to the game. I feel sort of conflicted about this because I do like getting more content for my Sims, but I think the frequency of kits is maybe a little bit too much. I don't really think any of the kits that we've gotten are bad. I'm just kind of frustrated by how expensive The Sims 4 is and how much content there is. I would way rather see a stuff pack, for example, that has gameplay and clothing and furniture instead of buying a kit that just has like a little bit of clothing in it. But I don't think kits are ever gonna go away because they are clearly making a lot of money for The Sims. So if they are gonna make more kits, I'd like to see a lot more collaborative kits, both collaborations with like simmers, but also with professionals. And what I mean by that is they've worked with some real life designers sometimes for things like that fashion streetwear kit, and I feel like that one has some of the most beautiful clothing we have ever gotten in the game. It's really cool to work with an expert in their field to bring stuff like that into The Sims, especially when you're trying to add in representation from other cultures. But also, all of the kits they've done as collabs with simmers have been amazing. All of my favorite kits so far have been collabs. There's a few Hall of Fame items, things like the curtain rods, the frame TV, the decorative pillows, even like the new cork board. These are all things that I don't know if the Sims team would have thought up themselves, and it's really cool to have that insight from a person who plays the game so much to sort of bring in some new and fresh ideas. It's a great way to get some community desires added too, because these are all things that a lot of people have been asking for a long time, and then we finally got them in these kits. I have a couple ideas myself. I won't go into it too much because I have made literally entire videos about my kit concepts. I've got like PowerPoint videos like this about all of my different kit ideas. One of them was to have a small appliances kit. If they were gonna do a gameplay kit again, I thought having like maybe a blender kit and then having the new item be a blender and then the new gameplay be a bunch of new recipes. It would be sort of similar to Bust the Dust in scale, but it would be a cool idea to get some more small bits of gameplay. I made a whole video about that, and then we got the Home Chef Hustle stuff pack that came with like 3 new kitchen appliances. So I don't know if they'll do kits like this anymore because they kind of covered that base with the stuff pack already, but I still stand by that idea. I think it's a cool concept. And then as far as like build mode kits go, I would still, and I've said it a million times, love to see some sort of kit that is like only beds. Or in this case, maybe like a textiles kit that has like rugs and pillows and curtains and stuff like that, just to kind of fill in those gaps where I feel like I'm missing a lot of the content I want in build mode. But I don't really know if they'll do something like that because it seems like most of their kits are sort of focused on one room or one style, so you can finish like one whole kitchen instead of just dotting various items around your house. Although we did get the clutter kits, so I don't know, I guess we'll see how it goes. But this is my dream. I want more rugs, and that's gonna be a theme throughout this video. So one of the other most highly requested, most talked about things in the Sims community right now is fairies. I feel like if you asked a lot of people in the Sims community what they're most wanting to see in the Sims 4 this year, a large chunk of them would probably say fairies. I don't know if I personally really want fairies that much in this game. I probably wouldn't be too bothered if we never got a fairy pack for The Sims 4, but I do hear the community's desires. I see why you want it so bad, and I am all in with you. I felt this same way about werewolves, where I was like, look, I don't really care about werewolves, but I get why you want them so bad, and I support you. So that's kind of where I'm at with Fairies. The Werewolf pack released in June of 2022, so it's been a long time since we got an occult type. Here's kind of an interesting tidbit. Our first ever occult type was aliens in Get to Work in 2015. Then we got vampires in the Vampire pack in 2017. In 2019, we got both mermaids and spellcasters. And then in 2022, we got werewolves. So there's kind of been about a 2-year gap in between every occult pack. We're also just in general overdue for a game pack. We haven't gotten one since werewolves in June of 2022. So Fairies to me seem like the obvious choice for the next game pack, but actually I would like to see a couple of game packs this year. That's kind of my ideal scenario. But also I think Fairies are really in right now, which sounds kind of weird to say. Like occult stuff is always popular. And maybe this is just in my circles, but there's this book series called ACOTAR. It's A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is an adult book series, okay? It's spicy, it's not appropriate for young people, but everybody I know, not everybody, but a lot of people I know are really obsessed with this book series. So Fairies are just, they're really popular. I think now would be a really good time for them to make a pack like this. I don't really know what it would entail. I made a whole video about Fairies and potential concepts for Fairies and comparing it to Sims 3 Fairies a few months ago. But picture this, right? Imagine the fairy clothes, the build mode stuff, the landscaping that we could get from a pack like this. Because I don't really care about the gameplay. I'm not gonna play with them. I'll do it a little bit, but I just don't really ever touch vampires or werewolves either. But imagine like this sort of vibe in The Sims 4. Beautiful, like fairy type clothing. This is a Sims 3 fairy. This sort of landscaping, fairy lights. See, this concept excites me. I would love to see this kind of stuff in the game. You know how we have that super cool secret magic realm area? I feel like a fairy pack could have a really cool secret fairy realm space. There's a lot of potential here, so even if I don't really care for occult gameplay that much, I'm still really interested in the idea of this sort of vibe for like building and cast stuff. And speaking of worlds, I've got a couple of ideas for the kind of worlds I'd like to see in The Sims 4 this year. First of all, The Sims 4 is basically an America simulator. 2 of the 3 worlds we got added to The Sims 4 this year were American inspired, and I think the game really thrives and really benefits from them trying to branch out and make worlds inspired by different parts of the real world. And in the past in The Sims 4, when they add a new world that's inspired by a new place, they often add in a lot of cultural items and foods and clothing to sort of fit that new area. So it's a win-win. It's better for representation. We get to see and have new cool things in our game. Just to throw a couple of ideas out there, I think it might be kind of interesting to see something maybe African inspired. I see a lot of people talking about that online, but also maybe something Australian inspired. I mean, the world is huge. There's so many places to pick from. So I'd love to see more of stuff like that. Also, we got 3 new worlds last year, so I'd like to see at least 3 new worlds added to The Sims 4 in 2024. New worlds are always like the biggest part of a new pack to me, so I always want to have more of them. And while we're talking about new cultures and stuff being added to the game, I think it's important to point out again just how powerful representation is in The Sims. I talked earlier about some cast assets like the hearing aids and top surgery scars, but even down to small things like food, every time they add new foods to The Sims 4, it goes such a long way and means so much to so many people. And it does seem small. It's like just a recipe for your Sims to cook. Just to give an example, when they added the Hello Hello into the rent pack, it made so many people so happy. All kinds of comments in my Twitch chat and my YouTube comments about how cool it was and how excited they were to see this thing they love in The Sims. Food is a huge part of people's real lives, and so being able to have their Sims eat what they like to eat is really cool. This game is meant to be a life sim. It represents life for everybody everywhere, and I really appreciate them making steps to do more of that. And actually, on this topic, they made a blog post where they taught you how to recreate this Sims recipe in real life. Again, working with a real life person, a real expert to try and recreate this recipe and teach people how to do it. I just think this is so fun, and I hope that we get more of stuff like this in 2024. I guess this kind of fits into the overarching theme of this video, more representation and more collaboration. But moving on, let's talk about the pack release schedule and what kind of packs I'd like to see this year. I feel like in previous years, the kind of packs we were gonna get was a little bit more predictable. We got 3 expansion packs in 2023, which has never happened before. We went from having 1 a year to all of a sudden having 3 in 1 year. So I don't really know what to expect next year. I don't know if they'll keep that up. I'm hopeful for at least 2 expansion packs, but I think ideal scenario for me is like 2 expansion packs and 2 game packs. Obviously, I'd I'd love to see the Fairies game pack, but I'd also just like to see another game pack in general. I don't really have any ideas. I just like game packs and I want more of them. But also, I want to have more stuff packs. It's so funny looking back on this because for a while, I think we were all kind of dreading stuff packs and we hated them for a long time because The Sims 4 kind of had like a flop era of stuff packs. But the more recent ones, the last few have been really good. We just got that Home Chef Hustle pack and it's one of my favorite stuff packs they've ever made. And stuff packs are just so much better than kits. They're twice the price, but they have like 3 times the content. And they also go on sale and the kits don't go on sale. So just in general, the stuff packs are so much better. I don't really know what I want them to make out of a stuff pack. I don't even know how to begin to predict something like that, but I just like the stuff packs. I feel like they're always fun, at least now. They didn't used to be, but now they are. I know I'm asking for a lot. This would be like kind of a packed year, but this is my dream, okay? We're kind of at like a weird point of The Sims 4 right now where they've made all of the top requested packs already. All of the obvious packs like pets and university and seasons, those have all already come out. Interestingly, The Sims 3 had 11 expansion packs and The Sims 4 already has 15 and they've not really shown any signs of slowing down. I don't really even know what I would like to see out of expansion packs at this point because they've kind of covered all of my main requests. This is kind of a fun point in The Sims 4's lifespan too because they can start doing some weirder packs and some more unexpected things. The Sims 3 had that really bizarre Into the Future pack where you could go into the future and like adjust it based on how you're living your life in the current era. But even like Snowy Escape for The Sims 4 was kind of a wild card. Nobody really expected to see a skiing pack and it's kind of a fun one and maybe one of their better worlds that they've made. So I think I'd like to see more packs like Snowy Escape, just stuff that I don't really expect or don't really realize that I want until I have it. My biggest dream, my #1 pack request, the big thing that I desperately want the most by far is hotels. I have made multiple videos begging to have hotels in The Sims 4. For years, I've been asking for this. I do not care about vacation homes. I don't want to rent a house for a vacation. I want my Sims to stay in a hotel. I will link the video down below that I made talking about hotels so you can see all of my ideas. This is a picture of The Sims 3 starter hotel. You could get this lot for free and then upgrade it and run a hotel. You would build like custom amenities like the lobby and stuff here. They had like a buffet section. You could make separate like suite type rooms, which is what this is. And then there were rabbit hole rooms where your Sims would just sleep in there and stay in there overnight, and those are over here. This is what I want. I want Sims 3 hotels in The Sims 4. I don't know if it would be a game pack or like an expansion pack. I'm not really sure. It seems like it could be similar to Dine Out, but I don't like Dine Out, so I would prefer for it to be an expansion pack instead. But this is my big dream. I want to go on vacation and stay in a fancy resort and have like all these spa amenities to use. This is what I want. I cannot think of anything I want more than hotels in The Sims 4 right now. I know a lot of you feel similar to me about this, which is good because the more we talk about it, the more maybe it's likely to come someday. But there are a few other things that I'm really desperate to have in the game, and these are all things that I've been talking about for years and even mentioned last year when I made a video just like this one. The first of which is online dating. I am getting real sick of having to ask for online dating in this game, okay? It's been 10 years since The Sims 4 came out. It's 2024. So many people use online dating. My reference for this is the online dating from The Sims 3, which came out in seasons in 2012. Way more people use online dating now than they did in 2012. Why? Why do we not have online dating in this game? There's mods and stuff for it, but I want to see it added for real in a pack into the game. It could be perfect as like an app on your Sims phone, just like how Trendy or Social Bunny works. In The Sims 3, I exclusively used online dating to meet people, and in The Sims 4, I use clubs. I'll make a club of single men and then try and date them that way. That's ridiculous. I want an online dating profile. It's so much more fun. Also, in The Sims 3, we would get these like messages back from people and they would send you requests or they would like ignore your requests. And I think that this sort of thing, like this text, is a great opportunity for the Sims team to have some like really funny text written. The team is really good at writing like descriptions and little pop-ups, and this is a great opportunity for them to have a creative writing challenge, okay? Please, I am begging you again for like the 10th year in a row, please can we have online dating in this game? There are a couple other things that I'd like to see that I maybe care about slightly less. First of which is just more crafty hobbies. I talked about this in last year's video as well, but I have a couple potential new skill concepts. I'd like to see pottery, like pottery throwing on a wheel. That says glass bowling, but I meant glass blowing, okay? I want to see glass blowing added, not glass bowling. That's not what I wanted. Also, sculpture maybe? Jewelry making could be an interesting idea. This is just a cool opportunity to add like a new skill, but also to have some more decor items for your house or even like new clothing items. I really like that about Nifty Knitting, how there's so many furniture pieces and like clothes your Sims can wear. I'd love to see more stuff like that. I think the number one request for me is pottery. I want to make like cute little vases for my Sims shelves, but I would be happy with any of these. Maybe not the bowling, but the glass blowing I would be more happy with. I assume all of that would come in packs, like paid content, but as far as free stuff goes, I've got a couple ideas for SDX drops, and I am not kidding when I say all of this is basically copied exactly from last year's video. When they do these SDX drops, it's like every couple months we get like 1 or 2 small items, maybe a hair, maybe a new chair, you know, just small little details that they add into the game. I don't care if it's small, I just want to see more stuff like this, more food, more clothing, more build items, more art maybe. This is a good example again of a collab. There's a real life Brazilian art team who made this art piece and then they made it in The Sims. I think that's so cool. They should do more stuff like that, like get real artists and put their work in the game. They worked with some real life tattoo artists to make some new tattoos last year as well, and I'd love to see more stuff like that. A couple years ago, they did a big update where they added a bunch of CC into the game, like worked with real life CC creators and added like their table or their eyeliner, you know, stuff like that into The Sims for real. And I think that is so cool to like promote these real life custom content creators, but also give us some cool new stuff. I really want them to do more of it, specifically with hairs and with like decor pieces. I really, really want to see more stuff like this. If we could have actually like a monthly content drop, that's ideal scenario. I know they probably can't pull that off very easily, but please, please, could you? There's a couple other base game updates I want to see. Most importantly, a Swatch update. We did get one of these for wallpaper and floors back around when Horse Ranch came out. They've done a handful of big Swatch updates before. We had a huge one for Windows a while back as well. I have a list, and this is not in order. It's just a list in general of the stuff that I think most needs a Swatch update. I guess number one is beds and couches. Specifically, all of the base game beds, I think really need a Swatch update. If we could get this bed with some more like plain patterns, like this bed with just a bunch of solid color bedspreads would be ideal. This is the base game cheapest bed, so I end up using it a lot when I'm making starter homes or my Sims are first starting out, and it just sucks that we don't have that many variants of it, and honestly a lot of the variants are ugly. So I would really like to see some more swatches on this one. Same thing with the couches, because the bed and the couch really determines the whole room, and I've used every swatch of all of the base game ones so many times at this point. I want to see some more options. Base game rugs too, would love to see more colors. A lot of the base game doors could probably use some more swatches at this point as well. Pool trim is a weird one. We don't have that many pool trim options. I'd like to see more of those. And roof textures. Why don't we have like any brown roof textures? We need some more variants of like plain neutral colored roof textures. I feel like everybody's roof in real life is like brown or gray, and we barely have any brown or gray colors. We just need some more plain ones. We could use like 20 more plain roof swatches and it would go a long way. And then plain bushes from the base game. If we could just get some more varying shades of green on like the simple bush landscaping, that would be great too. It'd be easier to layer stuff if we had a couple more variants of the base game plain ones. I'm asking for a lot of plain stuff, okay? I know. I'm asking for some very generic options, but I need more generic options. We need some more generic stuff so that we can mix and match and pair it with the like more bold, bright stuff. The bed's the big one though. Just please, the bed, if we could get some more bed swatches, even just this bed, that would be fine. I just need some more bed swatches, please. I have a couple other small base game update ideas as well. This first one, I want to see this get together column be added to the base game. I use this column on like the corner of every single wallpaper because for some reason the edge pieces on the wallpapers don't auto place correctly, so I use this to like make my own custom edge. You need to bring this column to the base game or give us a new plain square white column. Just a plain column with some nice neutral swatches. This one is good, but you can make a new one if you want to. Just bring this to the base game so everybody can have it. Because I I use this so much, and it's so weird how there's no just plain simple column in the base game. They're all too fancy or like too rounded. I just need a plain simple white square column, please. Also, a taller sliding glass door. I wanted to take up pretty much the whole wall. Right now it's too short, it needs to be taller. I could use a couple more ceiling lights in the base game that would work nicely over like kitchen tables or kitchen islands. I want some like nice and pretty simple pendants basically. And also more infant clothing and hairstyles. They're so new, they barely have anything. We could use some more options for them. For that, specifically shoes, socks, and hairs are my big requests. But this now brings us to the bug fixes portion of the video, and this could be a really long list. I'm gonna first talk about the build mode bug fixes. First of all, there being weird shadows on the second floor on top of where there are platforms on the first floor is so irritating, and I want them to fix that. I hate how octagonal roofs always clip inside of houses, and also terrain paint disappearing when I reload a lot makes me want to scream. I now have to build out of order and like do the terrain paint last, absolutely last, on the off chance that maybe it'll just delete itself. This terrain paint thing has bugged me forever. Ever since we got the terrain update, I've been having this problem. And guess what? These bugs directly copy and pasted from last year's video. Still not fixed. We still have them. There's a lot of bugs like that, and there's a lot of bugs in general that we could talk about, but I mostly build in The Sims 4, and these three are the most annoying ones to me right now. They're also the most long lasting, so this is what I want to see them fix. There are a couple other things that I listed last year in the video that kind of still stand today. I'd love to see more townie refreshes. When they first announced the townie refresh thing, it kind of seemed to me like they were going to go through and refresh all of the townies, and then since then they've done 2. So I don't know what happened there. I'd like to see them go through and do more. We got the Caliente refresh this year. First, we had the Goth family refresh, but pretty much all of the townies could use a refresh. And even if they don't go through and do a complete redesign like this on the rest of them, can they just go through and give the base game townies hot and cold weather outfits? Because it is so annoying to me how like Nancy Landgrab doesn't have an actual hot weather outfit and she just randomizes one. And that's been happening since Seasons came out. It's been this way for years and they still never went back and fixed it. On the pack refreshes thing, I had a whole conversation about this last year. Ever since they did that spa day refresh, a lot of us have been wanting them to do another pack refresh where they like go back and add a bunch of stuff into an old pack for free. I think they did that as an experiment to see if it would get a lot of new sales of an old pack, and then it probably didn't get a lot of new sales of an old pack. So it was great for people who already had the pack, but I don't know if that many new people went back and bought it because of that. So I just don't see them doing more pack refreshes, even though I would really like them to. It's about money for them. They're not just gonna do it out of the goodness of their heart. So I just don't really see them going back and doing that, even if I really, really want them to. And then also neighborhood stories updates. I wanted to see last year some more settings added into neighborhood stories to have Sims like maybe start dating or get engaged when they're outside townies. And they still haven't gone and done that, but I still want that. I still want more like autonomy of the other Sims in the world. I could talk all day about my ideas for that, but I won't bore you with it, and instead I'll link the video from last year where I did talk about it. I still want it really badly, but I don't want this video to be a complete duplicate of the one I made last year, even though it kind of already is. One of the other big things I wanted to talk about was pronouns. So we first got the pronoun update added in May of 2022, specifically just in English. And at the time, they had the promise of adding it to other languages in the future. Obviously now it's been like 2 years and we don't have any news about when we're getting pronouns in other languages. So just to give you some context on like why this is such a big ordeal. So first of all, I understand this is obviously a huge undertaking. This is going to be a completely different task in every single language they attempted in. Every language does pronouns differently, and also a lot of languages are way more gendered than English is. And it's not necessarily just a translation issue, it's also kind of a cultural issue. So when doing this, they're gonna wanna work with experts and people from that culture to figure out the right way to do it. And there isn't always a clear consensus on what the right way is, even within those groups. So it's really complicated for every language individually, and they have a ton of languages to do. So I understand why it's going to take a while. And they even talked about this when the update first came out. They talked about about how they wanted to post it in English first because then more people could have it and it was easier to do in English, and then add the other ones as they made them. But I think I would just appreciate some more transparency on this, and like, where are we at with other languages? What are we working on? Like, have we made a lot of progress? I think the silence on it is kind of confusing for people, and it's understandably frustrating if you speak that language and you want pronouns in your game and you don't have any news on when you're going to get it. And again, I understand it's a very huge task. I'm just kind of asking for some more transparency on this one. And even in English, we could use quite a few bug fixes because there's a lot of grammatical errors when using custom pronouns. When you read the text boxes in the top right corner, oftentimes it gets confused and kind of like says it wrong, which makes sense. They had to go back and update every single text string in the entire game, but like, I just wish that they were not so obvious. So kind of in a similar vein, I want to talk a little bit more about some small representation updates. I keep mentioning the hearing aid cast asset, but that was actually a really huge deal for them to add it. They also added glucose monitors into cast at the same time, and I would really love to see some more disability representation in The Sims. I don't really know what I'm asking for when I say that, because obviously a lot of these things like wheelchairs and canes are way bigger undertakings than adding like a hearing aid cast asset, because as far as the game is concerned, the hearing aid kind of works like an earring, but a lot of the other stuff that I want to see is a way bigger deal. Things like canes and wheelchairs require a whole bunch more animation, so it's not really as easy for them to add, but we don't really have anything like that. So I would like to see some more disability rep in this game. Some of the other cast assets like top surgery scars and stretch marks got added this year, and that kind of stuff also means so much to people. So I'd like to see some more things like that added. Just more cast stuff to help represent people's real life bodies would be so amazing. I keep saying it, but it's a life sim. It's supposed to represent life. So we want to have all of these features so that people can actually create themselves accurately in the game. And one other small idea, I think it'd be cute to have some more pride items added. We only have one pride flag in The Sims 4. I think it'd be kind of fun to have some more variations of pride flags. I guess I just mean like different shapes, like maybe a bigger one hung vertically instead of the small horizontal one, stuff like that. We also have a bunch of pride stuff in cast, like we have some pride shirts and we have a couple pride nail polishes, but more stuff like that is always fun too. And it's only swatches of like base game t-shirts, so I feel like it wouldn't be too bad for them to add. But kind of moving on to some bigger things, I'd like to see some news about Project Renee. Oh god, when I talk about this, I get kind of stressed. Project Renee is like the next generation Sims game. They teased it to us last year. They're very specifically not calling it The Sims 5 and kind of making it sound like it's gonna be alongside The Sims 4. So I don't really know what that means for us. And they're also really early in development. Like they're in planning phases right now. They aren't actually making the game yet, it seems like. And they've been pretty quiet about it as well. So I'd appreciate hearing just a little bit more. But more importantly, I'd appreciate it if they could help manage people's expectations. Because right now, everybody assumes this game is The Sims 5 and they also think it's coming out soon. When in reality, it's just not. Like it's probably coming out years and years and years from now. And I wish that they could make that more obvious to people. I know it's not like my job to manage the community's expectations, but sometimes I feel like I'm the one that has to do that because literally every day people will be like, should I even buy the new Sims pack? Because The Sims 5 is coming out soon. So they don't want to waste money on The Sims 4 if The Sims 5 is coming out next year or whatever, but it's just not. Like it's not coming out for a really long time. It takes a long time to make games like this, and because they've been teasing it and people only see teasers, they assume that it's coming out soon. And that's just the line you walk because they want to talk about it early so we can get community feedback and share stuff and build hype, but also you don't want to talk about it too early because then this happens and people get ideas and they run with them and then they get disappointed when it doesn't match their expectations, and it stresses me out. Project Renee stresses me out. So I would like to hear some more from the team about what they're working on, and I would like for them to help manage expectations a bit more with the community. And lastly, this year is the 10th anniversary of The Sims 4. We are coming up on 10 years of this game being out. Frankly, that's kind of upsetting when you think about it, but it is what it is. And I feel like they have to do something big. You have to do something to celebrate this anniversary, and it cannot be a hot tub. Sims team, you have a long time, you have many months, you have to think up some sort of fun update to add to the base game for this anniversary. If I were you, this is just an idea, I would add like a big requested something people really want, maybe like a huge refresh of base game swatches, and then you could do like a meme hot tub. You could do like new swatches on the hot tub as well. You should reference your mistake with the 20th anniversary hot tub, but also do like an actual good update. I think people would like that. It would go over well. But you have to do something. Please, please don't just forget about the 10th anniversary. It really would make me very sad. I will make a mean video if you don't do anything for the 10th anniversary, so please don't make me do that. Let us celebrate together, okay? Oh, and please don't do some weird like Project Renee news on The Sims 4's birthday. Let The Sims 4 have its birthday. Don't try and give us like some kind of replacement news. Let The Sims 4 have its moment, okay? So I'll be waiting. I'll be ready in September. You have time. Please, please make it good. But that, my friends, is my entire wish list for The Sims 4 in 2024. To address the elephant in the room, yes, I have a stupid band-aid on my hand because I burnt my finger with molten hot sugar. Please don't judge me, okay? I'm embarrassed enough as it is. But I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts about all of this. What are you hoping to see in The Sims 4? Do you have any big pack requests that people aren't really talking about? Let me know. I'm kind of curious. Also, Happy New Year, everybody. 2024 is kind of a scary number. And I think on that note, I am going to end this video right here. Make sure you're subscribed here to my YouTube channel because obviously as soon as there's any actual Sims news about actual Sims updates and actual Sims packs instead of just my fake wish list, I will let you know. And I also live stream every single day over on my Twitch channel playing The Sims. So if you like this kind of stuff, make sure you come over there. We end up doing a lot of just chatting about the game and hanging out and also building while we're over there. So I think you'll like it. I'll have my Twitch channel linked down below and I will catch you all tomorrow. Okay? Bye everybody. I'm actually really scared about their anniversary. I don't trust them. I don't. I think it's gonna be a flop and I'm gonna be really sad about it.